Okay, sorry. I have breathing problems again. Okay, 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 okay. So, this was recommended. Oh my god. This was recommended by a friend that I should talk about my family tree. And honestly, I don't think she meant my whole family, but I made. Oh, it's backwards. Okay, so basically, basically, I made my family tree as far. I think that's an A. As I know. Okay, so basically, this is on my this is on my school notebook, by the way. Like this is my dialectical journal for like Invisible Man. And then no, it's not. This is the digestive system. This is the dialectical journal for Invisible Man. Anyways, we're getting off track. My family tree. Let's hope my mom doesn't walk in. Okay. Okay, so this says my mom's side. And this here says GGG. That's my great great grandma. So we're gonna start off with my mom's side. This question mark is my great great grandpa. I have no clue who he was, so that's why it's a question mark. So basically, I missed out a couple things. Anyways, it's fine. I'll cover it. This is my great great grandma. There's a picture of my great great grandma, my great grandma, my grandma, grandpa. It was my grandpa. This is on my like grandpa's side, on my mom's side. So it's his great grandma, my great great grandma, his grandma, my great grandma. Scratch that. I'm just gonna go for it. Great great grandma, great grandma, grandpa, my mom, then me. So it was 5 generations in that picture. So basically, this is like the peaceful side of the family, to be honest. Like nothing was going on. My great grandma lived to be 106, passed away when I was like 8. Rest in peace. Um, then there was my great grandma. I think she died of cancer. Rest in peace. Then there's my grandpa. He has no cancer, and that's good. I don't think there's anything wrong with him, so we're okay. So then there's my mom who birthed me. Thank you, mom. And then there's me. So now we're going to my grandma's side. So right here. This is my great grandpa. He has a question mark, but I know just enough for an entertaining story. So basically, here's what happened. So my great grandpa on my grandma's side, on my mom's side, so basically my great grandpa, he had an affair with the random lady. I have no clue who she was. He had an affair. This is all coming from my mom. That she told me this. So he was having an affair, my on my great grandma. So he was cheating on my great grandma. Like what the flip is going on? What the flip are you doing? How are you gonna how you gonna cheat on my great grandma? Like be for real. And so basically what had happened was his mistress, which is the person he was cheating with, had found out he had a whole wife, my great grandma. And what had happened was once she found out, she grabbed a gun and shot him dead. Crazy, right? So my great great grandpa dead, my great grandma dead from natural causes. Rest in peace to both of them. Um, and then there's my grandma who's doing perfectly fine. She's doing great. So that's good. And then again, there's my mom. But I forgot to say, there was my uncles. And then there's my grandma's sister, aunt. But there's my uncles. So one of them went to New York. He's gay, but he wants to be a fashion designer. I support that. Support your family. And then there's my uncle, my other uncle. He's the older one. He's not older than my mom. He's the middle child. But he has two children. They are my cousins. And he has a great wife. I forgot to say my grandpa has a sister. I forgot to put one in. My grandpa has a sister. Um, who is my great aunt, but I consider her my regular aunt. And then here comes my cousin, my aunt. She is older than me, barely, by like a couple years. And I call her my cousin because obviously I don't like I don't like how that sounds. Having to call her aunt, so I call her cousin. I call her cuz. And she helped me get into the modeling business, which is super cool, obviously. And we're actually gonna take a photo shoot this weekend, so that's pretty cool. Um, moving on. My stepdad's side. So that's so my stepdad, he's white. And basically I just wrote down what I know about his family tree. So there's my great grandpa. I heard he was pretty wild. Give me a second. I'm trying to think. Um, Scratch that. I don't know. So there's my great grandma. She's still alive. She's walking. She's kicking. She's chilling, taking care of the dogs. And then there's my grandma. And then there's my grandpa, who passed. That's my dad's dad. I heard he got a little weird after that. I hear dads get a little weird after their dads pass. Rest in peace. But I heard he was not a great man. Not the best man. Then there's my stepdad. Um, he would tell me about my uncle who did sounds for who he knew. He was like your uncle. He worked in the music industry kind of. He would do he did the intro for I think he did that. He did music for Disney XD and he knew George Lucas. And if you don't know who George Lucas is, that's the dude who made Star Wars. He had met him. That's pretty cool. He did sounds for him, I think. And then there's one of his other uncles who is a really cool surfer. That's pretty cool. And then there's my dad, stepdad, but I call him dad because I love him. Um, yeah. So basically, right here it says dad's side. So that's my root. And basically, I would say I have two dads. This is what my friend wanted me to explain. So here's what had happened. So my mom, she had found my dad when she was like, I don't even know, 16. 6 year difference, by the way. So no better than me, mom. You were no better than me. You were 16, he was 22. This is the 22-year-old story all over again. If you haven't watched that, go watch that. That was pretty funny. That was pretty cool. God dang, I keep doing that. Hold on. Boom. Okay. See, that's not gay. I don't know. Anyways, so there's my stepdad. Here's how he became my stepdad or my dad, which is why I say I have two dads, but I still have a mom. So basically, she met my dad. My mom met my dad, and they kicked it off. My mom was in college. She got pregnant with me at 19, birthed me at 20. Um, During that time, my dad was illegal, so she had to marry him so then he could get his green card, and then divorced him later on. I was like, I don't know, barely any months old. And after that, she had met my stepdad. So I was like 8 months old. Um, when they started talking. Eventually, they moved in together and into a little apartment, which I was there the whole time. And so I had lived with him basically from when I was like 1.5 years old to kind of now. I don't know, because I visit him. So basically, up until now. So that's why he's my dad. And I'll go more into my other dad. So then there's his sister who has my cousin, one cousin, and there's her husband who I hang out probably more than my aunt because my dad and him are really cool friends, and then we go out playing frisbee golf or disc golf, and I'm pretty cracked at that. And then he had my sisters with my mom, and so basically after my dad had split up, I no longer had a chance at getting a full sibling. So now I have half siblings, but I call her my sisters because they're my sisters. Um, okay, then we go to my dad's side. So there's my lolo. That's what you call them in Tagalog. That's Filipino. Tagalog is the dialect. Just to get that right. Tagalog is the dialect. Filipino is the language. Um, so my lolo, my grandpa, I heard he had pretty wild things going on. So basically, um, when he was like a teenager, I think his dad, his uncle, his grandpa was the sheriff in town. So he would get locked up often because he'd always be up to some mischief. Um, this is a story I heard. So one time he had bought a car and he traded that car up until he got a 16 wheeler. And then he traded that 16 wheeler for a motorcycle. I don't even know. And then he traded it for another car. So he was born to be a businessman. Turns out, I didn't know this until like 2 years ago. He got an award for being an attorney in the Philippines. And it might have been America. I don't know. He got an award for being such a great attorney. I saw that in my room. I was like, holy frick, when did I? How come I didn't know this? I guess it wasn't there the first time. I visit his house. They have a room for me. I don't really go sleep in it, but his award was just sitting in there. And yeah, he was an attorney. I didn't know that. And right now he just works on his computer and stuff and still working as he's like 76. He's a great grandpa. Pays for a lot of my stuff even though I don't ask him to, which is really nice. And yeah, then there's my Lola, which I'm really sad about. That's his wife, the love of his life, love of a lot of people's lives. As you can tell from the sad tone, she has passed. So, when I was younger, I was around 5 years old. Back when I was first born, she Okay, so I'm gonna get this out of the way. Back when I was first born, there's this like traditional thing about putting the last name. So they wanted, I have two last names. They put my grandma and grandpa, my grandma's last name first before my Filipino grandpa's last name. And I guess in culture, his name was supposed to go last instead of being the first last name. So it's like there's two last names, so it'll be like something something. So there's like thing one, thing two. Thing one is the first last name, and then thing two is the last name. And his name was supposed to be thing two, not thing one. And instead it was thing one. So every time you mention my last name, it'll be his name, then my mom's side's name. And he was really upset about that. And supposedly he called me a bastard child. And then he would cry, I heard, and he would definitely take that back because I was one of the greatest grandchildren he's ever had. Because I don't ask for money or anything. Because he's really rich. He's like seven figure salary, not seven figure salary, but he has seven figures. And I don't really ask for money because I'd rather love him for him being such a great Lolo than just money. And then so basically there's my Lola. When I was first born, she's in the picture. She did not have dementia yet or Alzheimer's. I don't remember. Um Eventually over time, as she got older, she did eventually develop dementia, Alzheimer's, whichever one. And she would forget who a lot of us were. Since I was such a newer memory, she would never remember who I was. And she would barely remember who her children were. She'd only remember her husband. It was really sad. We had to put her in a, not a nursing home, but like other Filipino caretakers were there to take care of her. We'd come visit every week, and I would see her often. Not, no, my bad. I wouldn't see her very often because I would visit California. That's where she was. And so I'd get to see her every time I visited, and every time she'd be like, "Who are you?" It was really sad. I like, it's me, Lola. I'm your great grandson. I'm your first grandchild. It's like, oh, I have a grandchild. I'm like, yeah. I didn't talk too much. I was often shy with her because I didn't know her too much. And we would always say prayer as we were with her. We'd be like, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us in earth now and the other our death. Amen. We do that type of prayer. My cousin, who's a super genius, she's in talented and gifted. She would say the whole prayer, and I'd be like, "Wow, you're really good at saying the prayer." I was really, I was jealous that she could do that, but I was never spiteful about it. So basically, my Lola, she was one of the greatest women you could ever meet. That's what I heard. But knowing how I met her, she was never upset. She was a great woman, and she was gone too soon. Rest in peace, Lolas. Then there's her sister. She had taken care of her. She was inspired to take care of other elderlies. That's what she does for work, and that's really nice. Then there's my dad. Big troublemaker. Big troublemaker. Super duper troublemaker. A lot of people were afraid. I think they were afraid I would get up to trouble like him, but I never did. Um Not like him. I wouldn't get up to trouble that he did. So basically, he was really wild. Um he'd go out back. So here's some dad lore that he dropped on me. When he was a teenager, he was a barber. Like people would go over to his house, walk in, be like, "Yo, I need a haircut," and he would give them a haircut for money. And this was like back in the 90s, maybe 2000s, like early 2000s. And like I thought like, whoa, that was really cool. Mind you, this was the house that I grew up in for like the first couple of months. And I was like, whoa, here? And he's like, yeah. He's like, right on this porch, right here. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And he told me about this interesting story about my uncle. He's like, so one time I was cutting your uncle's hair and I was trying to line up the sides and it just like it was bugging me because like it seemed like one side was like shorter than the other, so I'd like hold on, I have to put this on. So I'd go up and then 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 I'd go up and up until he had and then he said until he had like this Bert and Ernie type hair. So it kind of looked like this. Like imagine this, but going this way. So it was like a Bert and Ernie type mohawk, and I was like, that's really funny. He's like, so when I had to tell your uncle, I was like, yo, bro, I think I messed up. And he looked in the mirror. He's like, what did you do to me? Why did my hair look like that? So they had to buzz it all the way. This was like when he was first learning how to cut hair. So this was like pre barber. But eventually he learned. He was able to line up sides. And so I have to drop some lore about my mom. My mom was originally supposed to be a dancer for Neo. She was in college and everything. Like Neo's a singer or something. Yeah, no. Neo's a singer. He sang "So Sick." If you haven't heard it, I'm not gonna sing it. It's gonna get copyrighted. But she was supposed to be a dancer. Then she got pregnant with me. Had to drop out of college and have me. All right, so back to my dad. Back to my dad. So basically, so basically, um, yeah, he was a troublemaker. He would do a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff. He would smoke. Okay, in California, weed is legal, so he would smoke weed at a legal age. At a legal age, not illegal with an I. With he was a he was legal when he smoked it. Um, then there's my uncles and aunts. So I have two uncles and two aunts. I was supposed to have three uncles. So here's what happened. When my dad was like a child, like a toddler, maybe like a baby. One of the oldest siblings, his name was Conrad. They were all sitting at the dinner table eating chicken, and eventually what happened was Conrad had choked on a bone and passed away at the age of 5. And everyone, like, he was one of the older ones, so my dad doesn't remember this happening. He just knows about the story. He's like, yeah, so that was your uncle that passed away at an early age. I'm like, dang, rest in peace. And then there's my two uncles. One of them is half white, adopted by my Lolo, who comes from my Lola's sister, my auntie, my Lola. I call her Lola because she's my auntie, but also my grandma. And so basically, his my uncle who's half white, half Filipino. She came from my Lola sister, who um carried a child from a man who was in war. He was white, so he's the tallest in the family, standing at a tall 6'3", 6'3" Filipino, half Filipino, half white. So I wouldn't say it really counts. I would be considered the tallest Filipino in my family if it wasn't for him. But I'm also half, so I can't really say anything. Not half white. I'm not half white. Um, so yeah, he's the tallest. He travels. He has a wife. I went to his wedding. That was really cool. They had crepes and lots of partying. I was drinking Martinelli's apple cider at the party. So you know I was kind of getting crunk. Um, dang, I was about to do that thing. So then, okay, so there's him. He has a little dog named Power, and he can be a bit of a terror sometimes. So then there's my other uncle. He lives with my Lolo. Helps him. I don't know about taking care of him, but he helps him around the house. Does a lot of stuff. They have a family business. We have a family business, and he helps around with that. And then there's my two aunts. One's an accountant. One's an ER nurse. Both making bank, by the way. My accountant auntie, she's really cool. She plays Call of Duty. She would call me every once in a while talking about how she's reached prestige something. Elite prestige, I don't know. At this point, she's probably making up prestige levels at this point. Like not literally, I mean like she's probably played so much that the creators have to make her own level of prestige. Then there's my ER. Mind you, everybody's like my dad's the youngest. My dad's the second youngest. He's like 40, 44. Everybody else is like basically in their 50s. Like lower, higher 40s, low 50s. My aunts look great. Like they look like they're in their 20s, 30s. My ER nurse aunt, she's like she goes out to the gym often. She actually took me to the gym, running the treadmill for like 30 minutes. I have no clue how she did it. I tried to do the same thing. I ended up dying. Once I stepped off that treadmill, everything looked like it was going faster. Like I thought I was still walking on the treadmill. Anyways, so my aunt from the ER has my cousins, had my cousins. The ones with talented and gift. One of them is talented and gifted. One of them is really athletic. I can't even imagine how athletic she is anymore because she's been changing. Then there's my dad, who I said got up to a lot of stuff. He plays basketball. He's really good at basketball. I really suck at basketball. Um, who had me, and 10 years later, when I was 7 years old, he had my little brother with my stepmother, who I call um Tita, almost like aunt. And so yeah, my little brother, he's 10 years younger than me. He does karate. He's almost at his black belt, so I ain't gonna mess with him. Um, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, super cool. He's wanting to play baseball. His older brother played baseball, throwing a fast heater, throwing absolute like knock your socks off type speed, like high 70s. Mind you, I should be throwing like 80s at this point, probably 90s. Anyways, super cool. Um, is that it? I think I think that is my family tree. So yeah, if you forgot, this one oldest great grandma who passed away at 106, which is absolutely insane. Um, stepdad's great grandma is the oldest here. Then here, I just have my grandpa. But the Filipino family, there's so much more. Like, it could cover this whole entire page based off of, like, how many aunts and uncles they tell me I have. Half of them, I'm pretty sure, aren't even my aunties and uncles. Like, they're probably just, like, really good family friends. Either way, they're my aunties and uncles. Embrace your family. There's so much to know about them. And that is my family tree. So, yeah, thank you. And thank you for listening. This is gonna be my first video asking to subscribe because I think I make pretty cool content and I think I'm really funny. Anyways, um, it's 11 o'clock, so I'll see you.